So, you're thinking about going back to school, but you're almost 30. Is it worth it? Should you do it? Well, that's what I'm doing right now. I am 28 and I am doing my first year of my bachelor's degree right now. And it's only been a few months. I started in September, it's November right now, and so far it's been interesting to say the least. And I just want to go over a few of the things that I've encountered, observed, and noticed, and maybe it'll help a fellow millennial when they're thinking about potentially going back to school if they've never been, or maybe they want to refresh their degree. I don't know. Life is interesting, and let's get right into it. So I never went to university after high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I just didn't go. I wasn't sure what path I wanted to take in life, and so I just worked as a lifeguard for a little bit, and then I decided to go to a trade school. And it's not like a typical trade, like you think electrician or plumber or something along those lines. This was more of a clerical thing. I don't really want to get into the specifics of my job because I still do it, and I don't want to be plastering all my information on the internet just quite yet. Let me just dip my toes into this type of thing. So basically after high school, I graduated after doing a victory lap, which is grade 13 in Canada, and so I went to this trade school type of thing. It was 2 years. I graduated that. I worked as a lifeguard for 2 years after that. And I decided okay, I'm going to start looking for a job in this field of clerical work. I found a job, and that's what I've been doing for the past 5 years. I've been working in an office, doing office work, to say it the most concise way that I can. But yeah, so I've been living an adult life for the past 5 years, paying taxes, commuting to work, handing in my assignments, and I also traveled a lot. I lived in Peru 2 separate times for 6-month periods in 2018 and 2019, and that was really cool. I wouldn't have been able to do that any other way if I didn't have, a job that I could do remotely after a few years. And yeah, I wasn't really concerned about university, whatever. So basically, I decided that I was ready to go to university at age 27. I decided, you know what? I know what I'm interested in now. It took me 7 years of thinking about observing what I'm interested in, and I found it. And so I found a program in the Netherlands. I applied, I had to upgrade my math courses through the Ontario Online School Independent Learning Center. Highly recommended if you're in Ontario and you need to redo some courses. Independent Learning Center, ILC, lifesaver. Such a great structure. Better than in school, I would say. But anyway, so I did that, got in, and pretty awesome. I'm enrolled in a school in the Netherlands. Packed up my bags, packed up my life, came here in August, settled down, started school. Now, starting school when you're 18 means that you're 10 years older than pretty much everyone else. You're the outlier, and maybe you'll be lucky and there'll be someone your age in your program. I was, and there is another student that's my age, and we happen to get along real great, so I have a friend and we can relate. 10 years is a big gap. So that's my first thing that I'm kind of dealing with. Secondly is related to my first point, and it's that you've already been through life-changing experiences by your late 20s. You've been baptized by fire if you've been in the workforce. You've paid your taxes. You've commuted, you've dealt with office politics, and a host of other things, you've probably been through, what a relationship is like. You've dealt with, just by the time you're in your late 20s, you're a fully fledged adult. And, I don't really feel old because to me, 28 isn't old. To me, 28 was old when I was 18, but now I have perspective and I'm 28 isn't even old. And I also think 38 isn't old, but you are at a point in your life where certain things have already been accomplished or achieved or realized or experienced, and that's just the course of time working its magical way. So yeah, you've already experienced things, and you've probably had your ass kicked by life in some shape or form. A lot of tension and anxiety around work, finding work, having a income sustaining your life, being like cost of living is another thing that you have to grapple with, and these are just very adult things that start to pile on as soon as you're out of that comfy bubble of still being dependent on your parents. And a lot of people my age still are dependent on their parents in some way, shape, or form, and that is just the nature of the world we find ourselves in. And that takes me to my next point about going back to school in your late 20s is both a privilege and a sacrifice. It's a privilege because you're able to take time off from working and maintaining your lifestyle, and you can dress that down to being a student again. You can take 3 to 4 years of a break from the workforce, and you can focus on your studies. And a lot of times either you'll have savings in order to do that, or you're relying on your family to help you through. And those are both blessings. And it's a sacrifice because you are basically in a plane of existence where you are putting your head down and working. You aren't participating in the labor market with the full robustness that you normally would. You're not being with your peer group, and sometimes it can feel like your peer group is outpacing you, and that can be a little scary sometimes, just to feel like you're being left behind. But at the end of the day, it's about the perspective of the long-term goal. And I keep telling myself, you're gonna the 4 years are gonna pass by. It's 3 years in Europe, 4 years back home in Canada and the States. It's going to pass by, and this is something that's important to me, and it's something I care about. So, I'm just going to take it day by day. And the last thing that I have encountered is getting back into the groove of being in school. So there's a lot more restraints in your way when you're a student. There's deadlines you have to meet, and if you're taking a full course load and working at the same time, it's a juggling act, and you don't have time to do the things that you've been used to doing. Like, the leisure time that you experience after work is gone, and now it's replaced with a totally different structure, and you have to get adjusted to that. It's so easy to get off track. It's so easy to procrastinate. It's so easy to spiral, and these are tough things to be learning. If you're taking an intensive course that's full-time, that's equivalent to like a full-time job, and you're not even getting paid for it. You're paying to attend, and that's something you just have to take into account, and you have to structure your days. So, most of my days are structured in the way that my work life was structured, except now I don't have the evenings to just chill and like maybe watch TV and just like take it easy, like that's something that is already kind of built into the work schedule, because you don't have all these assignments that you are doing outside of working hours, or at least you shouldn't without getting paid for it. But basically that is life at 28 in university. Mind you, I'm also living in a foreign country that I've never been to, and that was quite a shock. And that's a story for another time. But moved from Canada to the Netherlands to attend school here, and it is quite the trip. It's true what they say though, like everybody rides bikes here. It's pretty cool. I really, really like the lifestyle here where I can just ride a bike. I don't need a car anymore, and it's just a different pace of life, and it's interesting. I'm sure I'll look back on it and be very, very happy that I came here. But the first week that I was here, I could not stop crying because I was so just out of my element. I missed my family and friends so, so much. I was so homesick. I was ready to get on the first plane and go back to Canada, even though I'd been anticipating moving here the whole time that I was working towards getting into university. So it's kind of funny how life can be like that. But basically, that's my experience. And I'm so like blessed to be here, but it's also just, it's so bittersweet. I've noticed that that's just how life is, at least in my experience, is there's always some good with the bad and bad with the good, and nothing is ever 100% the way that you pictured it. So that's also something to keep in mind, is learning how to plan for things without, being too fixated on a certain outcome. But you just got to do your best. So basically, that is what I've been up to, and I'm going to be doing my bachelor's until 2023 or 2024. Wow, I can't believe that time just flies so fast. Anyways, I hope this might have helped someone who's thinking about going to school. And I'm also curious, like, how was school for people who went when they were 18, 19? How was that experience? Like, when you went with all your other peers? I'm curious. Did you, like, find yourself? Did you have a growing moment? Like, I'm just super curious because, I'm doing things 10 years later. Okay, later. Tot ziens, as they say here in the Netherlands.